Alright, so James Gunn's Superman movie has failed to turn a profit. Mind you, this movie is supposed to kickstart the new DC universe on screen. James Gunn's taking over from Zack Snyder's position a few years ago. He is now heading the DC cinematic universe, and this movie, Superman, was supposed to kickstart it, and it hasn't turned a profit, hasn't managed to do that, and mainly because it had an absolutely ridiculous budget of $350 million. And more than that, I think people are just, I think people are getting sick of all these goddamn superhero movies, man. Comic book movies in particular. I mean, it's been a rough couple of years, hasn't it? It's been a rough couple of years. I mean, Marvel's not been doing too well for about half a decade now, since Endgame, which was 2019. Let me remind you that Avengers Endgame was 2019. That's 6 years ago now. Marvel has not put out a particularly good movie in 6 years, apart from Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I thought that was pretty good, and I thought Spider-Man Far From Home was pretty decent. That wasn't too bad either. And let's not even talk about DC. I think we all saw Joker 2, didn't we? So, financial details are coming to light regarding James Gunn's Superman, and things aren't looking great from a profit standpoint, confirming what Comic Book Insiders said back in July. Alright, so, while the studio originally claimed the film had a $225 million production budget, which is still crazy. That's still way too much money to be spending, even on a high budget superhero movie. You don't need to be spending that much money. It's since been reported via Variety that an additional $125 million was spent on marketing. That puts the total budget at $350 million, right in line with what we were previously told by an insider. Alright, and we got some numbers, and these numbers are actually important. We should take a look at these numbers to understand why these movies aren't making any money anymore, which they're just not. So Forbes recently broke down the film's theatrical revenue and explained how the split with theatre chains works. Given that films generally split their ticket sales 50-50 with theatres, this means that Superman's theatrical net equates to nearly $308 million. Okay, so basically, let's say a film makes $600 million, does $600 million in ticket sales, okay? $600 million worth of people go and buy tickets to watch it in the cinema, in the theatre, okay? They sell $600 million worth of tickets for people to go to the cinema to see it. The studio gets 300 million and the theatre gets 300 million, and then the studio has to break that 300 million down more. So there's a lot of cost for this stuff. even going with the 308 million before taking the other expenses into account. That's what I was trying to say. They get their half, and then all the other expenses are taken out of their half. Superman's net falls below the $350 million Warner Brothers spent on the production of the film and marketing. As mentioned in our previous report, a $350 million budget means Superman would have needed to hit at least $875 million globally just to break even, based on the industry standard of a 2.5 times multiplier. With theatrical earnings falling short of that mark and questionable reception surrounding scenes like the now infamous squirrel moment, and the scrapped Lois argument, is clear that Superman may already be one of the biggest financial risks in Gunn's new DCU. So, basically, long story short, it flopped. The movie flopped. It was supposed to kickstart a new DC universe, and it bombed, and it hasn't done that. And they haven't had a good couple of years anyway, because they had Joker 2, which didn't do too well at all, and it was just a dreadful movie in general. And then before Joker 2, they had Wonder Woman 2 and Aquaman 2. And I don't think those did particularly well either, though I think Aquaman 2 did better than Wonder Woman 2. So that's the long story short. Long story short, Superman bombed, and it hasn't done what it was supposed to do. But I really do think people are getting sick of superhero movies. They're not having the same effect that they once did. And the proof of that is that this is happening across the board. It's happening across the board. Not just DC, it's Marvel as well, who obviously about, just under a decade ago, not even a decade ago, were putting out billion-dollar movies one after another. They were having consistent billion-dollar movies, not so much anymore. So Fantastic Four came out this summer, wrapped up its theatrical run recently. A few weeks ago, wrapped up its theatrical run. Now it's up on streaming. It didn't do very well on the cinemas at all. Had one of the worst opening weekends in MCU history, and remind you, 8 years ago, the MCU were putting out billion-dollar movies one after another. Every movie was a billion-dollar movie. Even the few movies after Endgame, because there was still loads of hype. Everyone was still really hyped off of Endgame. Even those few movies after Endgame were doing $1 billion. But not so much anymore. So, the Fantastic Four, First Steps, and the MCU in general has just suffered another big setback on the franchise's long path to recovery. Fantastic Four, First Steps is currently available to purchase on PVOD and will be out on Disney Plus very soon. When was this article? This was a day ago. Yeah. So there will be a bit of time for that. But the film might not be as popular on digital as Marvel Studios and Disney were hoping for. Fantastic Four opened in theatres this July to a decent critical reception and good but not overwhelmingly great box office figures. As the MCU now bounces in and out of public attention thanks to some lacklustre recent movies, it appears as though more fans are waiting for Fantastic Four to stream on Disney Plus rather than paying for the movie. That reluctance is even more evident on the digital streaming charts. Yeah, well, nobody went to see it when it came out. So they're not going to, they're equally less likely to pay for it when it comes out on digital. I don't really think it makes much of a difference, to be honest. If people aren't interested in seeing a film, they're not going to see it. Whether it's, still on the cinema or if it's out on digital, out on streaming. If people aren't interested, they're not interested. They're not going to go see it. And Fantastic Four was released on digital. It shot straight to the top of the major streaming charts. iTunes, Amazon and Google Play listed the Fantastic Four First Steps as the bestseller the weeks following its digital release. But the MCU's biggest movie of the year has now been dethroned on all three platforms. Weapons holds the pole position on iTunes and Amazon, with Minecraft making an unexpected comeback on the Google Play Store. I can see that. I can believe that. I can believe that Minecraft's doing better than Fantastic Four. I mean, Minecraft did make about $1 billion, so not too surprised about that, to be honest. On iTunes, The Fantastic Four is fourth on the digital streaming chart. Below Weapons sits Downton Abbey, the grand finale. In second, F1 in third. On Amazon, several films sit above First Steps, including Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, Jurassic World Rebirth, Materialists, and the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. Fantastic Four hasn't been a financial failure. It grossed $518 million worldwide, but is far from the $1 billion plus blockbuster hit that Marvel Studios is used to. Well, were used to, 8 years ago. But the thing is, saying it grossed $518 million, which I'm sure it did gross that. But this guy's completely leaving out the fact that Marvel would have spent $250 million to make it, if not 300, because of how much they spend on marketing now. I mean, they're spending close to $100 million on marketing these days. So it says it grossed $518 million, but they would have spent 250, 300, including marketing. And I'm sure we'll get the official numbers soon, but that's what they would have spent. They would have spent 250, 300 total. So grossed 518 million, that's what it took. Those were the takings. But it didn't fucking make that. It didn't fucking make it 518 million. Probably made 100 million. Because don't forget, the cinemas take fucking 50. The cinemas take fucking 50%. So, if anything, probably made about 100 million. And then it says at the bottom here, not to do with Fantastic Four, but production recently wrapped on the MCU's next tentpole movie, and it is currently slated to release in December 2026. This is Doomsday they're going on about. But But before that, fans have one more standalone film to enjoy before the Secret Wars saga brings the MCU multiverse to a close. Spider-Man Brand New Day is currently slated to release in July 2026, with Tom Holland reprising his role for a fourth standalone movie. Spider-Man will also be returning for Avengers Doomsday. Blah, blah, blah. And I think that just shows that these movies are not doing as well as they used to. And I think people are getting kind of sick of them. Not sick, tired. They're getting tired of them. I think they are. I think they're getting tired of them. And, you know, the MCU is rebooting after the next Avengers movie anyway. So I think that's sort of proof that they can see that it's not working as well as it used to, and they need a new formula. They need a new format. I think that's what they're going to try and do. I think that's what they're looking for. But yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. So yeah, see ya.